My brain was fried yesterday, I tell you, from all that pre-trip stuff. It was just so much detail to try to get. And I don't even think, my brain was in a different mindset when I got home. I was so tired. I know that we did the pre-trip yesterday and then we moved into the end cab. And I decided after watching him go through the end cab, which I was sitting behind him in the sleeper berth. We have 3 seats back there. And I kept standing up to look over him because I wasn't seeing where all the switches was. And then like a brilliant genius, I decided when he said, who wants to go first? I said, me. And so I started going through the paperwork and identifying what was what and doing the test. And the guy that was with us, his name was Mark, and he's a stickler for the details. He is procedure based. And I got through this. I got through it a few times and was going through everything, at least so I thought. And at one point, I turned off and back on the ignition, and he just shook his head, and he said, "You just failed." And I said, "It failed." And he said, "Yeah, it's just to the on position. Don't crank up the truck." And I was like, "Oh." He says, "Yeah, you failed like 4 times already." And I'm like, "Oh, well, is that a record?" I didn't really know what else to say at that point. He just kind of, that became the joke. I would say, to the other guys that were in there with me, "Look, I have the high score. You're not going to beat my score." Even though I knew that it wasn't a good thing, but hey, I can joke just like anyone else. It was fun. But I came home last night, brain fried when I did the recording, as you saw. And then I did nothing but study. And I studied section A, which is up under the engine and stuff like that. And I basically just made a routine out of remembering certain procedures over and over again. Then I watched the videos from our yard boss, his YouTube channel, where he made some videos to help us. And I watched those, or at least some of them, because at that point, I was like, after I could no longer see the paper, and I'd literally been studying for hours, I called it, went and laid down and decided to put 1 or 2 of the videos on while I went to sleep. And my eyes fell hard, and I don't think I moved a muscle all night. Got it this morning, went in there. Now, we were told yesterday to be prepared to do our evaluation on the in-cab or the, section 1 or section A, B, C, or, pretty much any of the pre-trip. And so I was studying really hard for that. And so today I was expecting to do something. And, Ruben actually, he said, would you, he's like, y'all ready? And it's like, we're like, this is when I was signing in this morning. He's like, you ready? You ready for the evaluation? I'm like, if we are, then absolutely. You ended up not doing that. So we ended up having a stay of execution, I guess. We ended up doing instead, what is it? It's not procedure, is it? No. What is it? There are different moves. There's 4 basic moves that you practice over and over again. The first thing I did was, after I signed in, is I went over there and opened up one of the hoods and tried to go through what I remembered about things. And there's the other guy, Devante, who he and I, have been, with each other since the very first day of the week when we first went out to the yard. We went and got our drug test, staggered, and then we showed up, and then we had been in the same group. Now he's automatic, I'm manual. So we're going to separate out, and I keep telling him he's my good luck. He's my good luck charm because he's a good guy. He's a real good guy. I think he's Jamaican or something, because he pulls out the Jamaican accent sometimes, and sometimes it's a little thinner. So no, but he's a good guy. And then we have Fritzgeb, something like that. And then Thomas is in the group. Today we were also introduced to 2 other guys named Brandon and Jonathan, who it was their first day. So they disappeared over with Danny to do in-cab stuff. And then we were introduced to someone named Jason today. And from all morning, basically, all morning, Jason taught us, he brought us out there. We were on a manual transmission today. And he said, I'm going to show you how to back up in a straight line. And I tell you, he broke it down so easily. It was one of those things where I think the very first time I went to back up, I just couldn't get it right. I was flopping all over the place, just wasn't getting it just right. And the second time it was the same way. I was kind of like, man, just I'm not getting something. Something's not really working for me, and I don't know why. The third time, though, I caught it, because basically what he will tell you is that you steer toward the problem, is what the wording he used. And that, when he told us at the beginning of the day, he said, you identify your problem. And that's basically wherever the trailer is starting to go towards, the cones, that's your problem. And so as if the trailer is like, this, or the tractor is going this way and then the trailer starts to go out this way, what you need to do is turn toward the problem, which will push you back around, and it will pull back around. It's kind of hard to do in line here, but it worked. Anytime I saw the trailer starting starting to see too much of it, I knew that I was in trouble. And it's kind of hard to do with your hands here, but the trailer actually pushes. So as soon as you turn that way, it pushes the trailer and you get in front of it again, which is good. So the third time, I got the balance part of it, being able to balance. Now they say, put your hand in the middle of the wheel as you go backwards. To me, I was trained over 30 years ago to put my hands on the side of the wheel. So to me, it's a lot better if I have two hands on it. It's a lot more stable. Now, if I'm backing up and looking over my shoulder, not in a backup camera this day and age, I'll do that. I'll put my hand in the center of the wheel. That's how I was trained to do it, and look over the shoulder, arm over the back of the headrest, and then back up. Now, that's something that this day and age, Generation Z has backup cameras. And if you have a glare on the backup camera, then what are you supposed to do? Well, go old school, but it's not taught this day and age, because just look down at your backup camera. You think that with kids this day and age have their reversed cell phone, their selfies, and how the letters are always reversed because they're fools and they have to have their little image, reversed. That way, when they lift up their hand to the right, they see it on the right, and then everything's a mirror image, so the words are backwards. Even though you can save the photo the correct way, you would almost think backup cameras are confusing the same way, where you turn right to go left. But, those have sense, not people that use selfie cameras. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, I started to kind of get that. I got the hang of it. But what I didn't get the hang of it is trying to balance the wheel and stay within the cones. Because the trailer is 8 feet wide. The box that we were backing down is 12 feet wide. So two feet of play basically on either side if you stayed on the middle. What I was able to do the third time is I was able to back up in a straight line, but then I didn't realize how to adjust it. I couldn't figure out how to adjust it because I kept steering the wrong way. And it was taking me, once I tried it, I would balance the wheel. I was going straight into the cone, straight toward the cone. So I had to stop. And then I was like, pull forward a little bit and get in alignment again and starting to back up again. And it didn't stick that time. The fourth time I did it, though, there was only 4 of us. It was me, Devontae. I volunteered to go first because I wanted to make sure I got as much, seat time as possible. And there was me first, Devontae second, Fritz Gibb third, and then there was Thomas fourth. So on my 4th time around, I realized that as you start, you have to kind of create a problem, is what the words Jason said. You have to create a problem in order to remedy the problem. And so what I realized is as I'm starting to go backwards and the trailer starts to kick out a little bit, I can use that momentum a little bit before I catch it and pull it back in to center myself up. So I realized that and I started to do that. And after I figured that part out, I did not mess up again for the next 5 times that I got to do the straight line backup. I didn't mess that up again. It just made sense. It was like finally I was able to stay on the bike without falling over. That was what made sense. Now, I'm not claiming to be expert. I'm not claiming that next time I get behind the wheel, it's going to instantly, but I'll tell you this though. It felt good. It felt like it made sense finally. So we broke for lunch. And then when we came back this afternoon, we were working on what do they call it? What is it called? it's called not inline. It's geez, my brain is so sizzled at this point. Offset. That's it, offset. So the idea here is to pull straight forward, and then either left or right. What you have to do is back up a little bit on the angle and then straighten yourself up and then go straight back. The straight back and the offset are the two that they absolutely require you to do every single time. And then there's a specialty skill, which is either parallel parking or it is doing an alley back, which is a right angle turn backwards. Those are going to be fun. But today we did the two mandatories. And this afternoon on the offset, I'll tell you this, the first two times I went, Jason explained it to us very well. He said, back up and he said the center cone is, if it's on your left hand side, when you get to the very, very end, you turn all the way hard to the right. That way you start to kick the trailer around going that direction. And then as soon as you get the trailer in line and straight again, you turn the wheel all the way back the other direction. So that way you pull it back in straight line, not a straight line in line with the cones, but you start to go angle towards it. And then once you get your rear tire in line with the cones, at that point you stop and get out. You get out and look. So it's goal. You get out and look, and then you verify that the tire is where you need it to be. From there, if the tire is on your right side, you will go hard left. If the tire is on your left side, you will turn hard right. And then you back up again until you get centered in the middle of the landing gear again, where you see it out the window. That was the first thing to do. Like I failed to say that here, but as soon as you turn the wheel hard, you start to back up until you can see, you can see the through your mirror here, you can see the middle of the landing gear. And on that particular trailer, that was the correct place. And then you turn hard the other way until it straightens out, and then you go straight over to the other side. You get out and look when the outside of the rear wheel is in line with all of them, or at least it looks like it. Then you jump in and get out. Now, I've always had good depth perception, especially in the normal job I've been doing for the past, over a decade. I've been able to, I have to have depth perception there. It's a honed skill. So being able to look at it, I was able to say, oh, cool, it's right there. I've been able to see this is straight in line with it. I'd jump out, and every single time I would be spot on. The first two times I was backing up and correcting it to straighten myself up, I went practically down the cones. It was like I was almost like about to hit the cone. I was like, the cones are standing up here, and I'm like running over the rubber bit at the base, or about to. So it was kind of rough, and I would have to kind of correct a little bit because it's straight back up. And at that point, I could do it, but the problem that I ran into is by the time you cut the wheel a little bit to try to create a problem to eliminate, that creation of the problem puts you all the way on the cone. So that was a little bit of a problem. The third time I went to do it, I overthought it. I botched up so bad. The very first thing I did was I turned that thing like practically into a jackknife. I was not facing this way, and instead of just going this way with the cab, I went like here with the cab. I was like straight over, and I remember looking over like sideways and then like looking over sideways the other way, and I was almost looking back, at the trailer, and I'm like, this is not good at all. So I went ahead and pulled forward and said, reset, start over again. And then I botched it again because I completely forgot I was supposed to turn the wheel hard and look for the center of the landing gear, because that's the point that I will stop and turn the wheel hard the other direction. And I botched that one up bad. By the end, I did not hit any cones. I think I did 3 pull forwards, which is not good, but at least I got it in line and then pulled forward. So it would count me some points off, even though they were telling us, save all your points for the specialty maneuver, whatever that happens to be. If you can, you have 12 points, but they give you 2 free ones. And on your pull, on your straight back, you have 1 get out and look, free, and you on the other 2 maneuvers you have 2 get out and looks free. So, and I got to find out the details about the pull forwards. I think they said you get 2 of those free too, but I don't know if it's per technique or if that's total. So anyway, I'll find those details out later. But the third time I totally botched it. Didn't hit any cones but I went forward I think 3 times. I only got out and looked once, but I tell you, that one was pretty well botched. And I was like, all right, Jason, what did I do wrong? And he basically said that I didn't look at the middle of the landing gear. He says I was like 4 landing gears over. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, I guess that was pretty bad. The 4th time I went. Now by then, a couple of the more experienced guys that had been there, this is their last week in the program, they were kind of bored and doing the maneuver they were doing over there. And so they came over to join us in offset. And so we all of a sudden had to add them to the mix. And so that meant that instead of going about once every 15 or 20 minutes, now I'm going close to every 30 minutes, which meant a lot less, truck time, which was disappointing because I enjoyed it and I need the practice. So as I was doing I think it ended up being the last time. No, it was the second to last time. That time, what I was able to do is I did the maneuver. I saw the middle of the landing gear. I said, all right, now I turned it hard the other way. I went back over, and that time I aligned it correctly on that, at the outer wheel on the cones. And then I said, okay. And I started and I went early this time. So this time, if you have this amount of length, you're supposed to get pretty close to it. And then you angle it back in and go like at the cones. But this time I was like, I'd angled and done everything. So I was like, 30 or so feet from the back of the trailer over. So I basically just had to straighten the thing up. But then I realized that if this is the lane, my tractor was like way over here. It was way over to the side. So it was like almost on that line again. So I backed up. I was able to correct it. Didn't hit anything. But by the time I got out, I went over and said, all right, Jason, what am I doing wrong here? Because I feel like I'm doing what you told us to. I think that I'm doing what you told us to. And one of the guys that was there, he said, well, what Jason told us, and it works, is that instead of getting yourself lined up with it, you need to go, if your box is 12 feet and the trailer is 8 feet, you need to go about 2 feet into the box. And when that rear tire, when that tire is about 2 feet into the box, then you do your move. And it's going to be fun. I said, so basically it just pivots. And they said, yeah, basically it just pivots. It's a little bit more than a pivot, but it's practically like a pivot. As soon as they said that, it kind of made more sense. So at that point, I said, okay, I'm going to see if I can get my another time in before the end of the day. Because remember, with more people, it takes more time. And there was a couple of times that we had to stop for a moment and discuss something, or somebody took a little bit extra time because it was a Bosch maneuver or something like that, and they needed to straighten up. The last time I went, I lined up, did the angle right, went over to the other side, did my get out and look. And then as I was starting to, I went back into the point where my wheel was about 2 feet over, and I felt good about it. And then as I turned it, you know how the trailer, I lost the edge of the trailer and I couldn't see it in any of my mirrors. And I second guessed myself. So as I turned the wheel hard and started to turn it, I then overcorrected and threw the end of the trailer into a slightly weird angle. And then when I started to go back, at that point, I was like, I'm going to pull this back in. I'm going to correct it. Said to myself, I'm not going to pull forward this time. I've pulled forward the previous time. I said, I'm not going to pull forward this time. And I tell you, I was like mumbling profanity to myself because I was like, oh, you're an idiot. You got this wrong. You should just pull forward. Stop being an idiot. And, but somehow, and I don't know how, I don't know if it was just me getting lucky or if it was just whatever, but I ended up pulling it back in. and it was a little crooked, starting to go down that and crooked going the other direction. So because I was like centered on, here's the lane. I was centered on one side of it, and I had started to pull it where it was starting to go. The tractor or the trailer was starting to go backwards at an angle because I wasn't able to straighten it up because my tractor was a little angled at this point, and I was chasing it back. But I got behind the cones, and I was happy to push the button or to honk the air horn. So I did that, and it was all over, which is good. I know I could do better, and I hope we have a chance to do that tomorrow. But tomorrow, I think we are doing our pre-trip evals. I would assume so, because they said usually Ruben does that does it to new students the first week to make sure that you're studying it. And I've been studying. Earlier tonight, I'm just literally about to go to bed right now, but earlier tonight, I was so exhausted. I got home, and I was not in the best of moods. I was tired and just, dopey. My wife made a frozen pizza, and we all ate together as a family. And then afterwards, I played with my youngest daughter for a little bit, and then went and jumped on my exercise bike and then took a shower. But before I took the shower, I got out of the exercise bike and I was kind of energized. So I said, I'm going to work on in-cab and coupling. Actually, I take that back. I worked on sections B, C, and coupling. And then, like a fool, started to look at in-cab and said, oh no, I'm too tired. I'll do that tomorrow. In-cab and coupling are the two things you have to get 100% right. Now, granted, this is the end of the first week. I'm not being graded on it for you fail this, you don't get your permit, but this is an evaluation tomorrow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up. I'm going to drive out there. I'm going to sit in my car in the air conditioner for a little bit. And then I'm going to work on that. I'm going to study it when my brain is fresh and I'm good. And as I go to bed tonight, I'm going to be watching some of Ruben's videos to teach me what I should be doing and what I should be knowing. And I'm tired, so I might be able to make it through one. I'm the kind of person that can go to sleep pretty quickly. So we will see what happens. But anyway, we're 8 days in, and it's going well. It's going well. I'm learning a lot. The thing I think I appreciate the most is that everyone seems really supportive. The students are really supportive. As you start to walk over someplace, you look at something, they're like, hey, come over here and look at this too. And everyone's talking about stuff, and they're all talking about it and including you in the conversation. It's not like they're trying to whatever. They're like, all right, well, this is this, and this is this, and this is this, and on this truck, it's this, and it's over here. And if you look, it's in a slightly different place in this truck than it is over there because it's over here. Well, here it's here. And you basically do that in the morning until while the instructors get their assignments and stuff. And the instructors are really nice. They're really nice. I liked working with Jason today. He was a lot of fun. He's an old country boy. And he's a little bit older than me, so he's also a Gen Xer. And one of the things we laughed a little bit about today was some we were laughing about a bunch of things, but one of the things we talked about was how, for some strange reason, Generation Z just has no interest in getting their driver's license. For whatever reason, they could just not get a driver's license ever and be perfectly happy with people driving them all over the place. Me, I tell you, the day I turned 15, I got my written test. The day I turned 16, I got my driver's license. And I was all over the road after that. There was no stopping me. I was, it's like my mom would say, I just made dinner, stay here. No, I gotta go. No, eat dinner first. I'm like, come on, Mom. And I'm like, inhaling it, shoveling it down to run out the door because I was always on the road. Always loved it. Now, granted, gas prices were like in the 70s per gallon at that, 70 some odd cents per gallon back then. I remember when it got up to the 80s, I remember thinking that was frustrating. Then it got up to the 90s. And then I remember saying to myself, I can't believe that gas is about to hit $1 per gallon. That's so annoying because I liked looking at it and seeing $8 or whatever. And you could fill up your entire car with $7 and change. And that was awesome. Then all of a sudden it got got higher. But in the 90s, I will say this, Bill Clinton, I think he released the oil reserves or something like that. And at least that's what I remember somebody saying. I was a teenager, or at least this part of it. And because of that, the gas, we were flooded with refined oil, and we had, the demand was way down because the supply was so high, so the price dropped. And that's why I enjoyed seeing gas prices down to the very lowest I ever saw was 65.9. And that was, I think, in like 1997, I think. Something like that. It was a really good gas price. Then now, it's all crazy. It's over 3. Great. Unfortunately, this generation is not going to know what it's like to just get in your car and cruise around and drive around all night. And all it cost was like $2 worth of gas. And you were driving all night, all over the place. Man, poor kids. All right. Enough reminiscing of that. I should go ahead and end this, go to bed, and watch Ruben's videos, video on coupling, and try to get that terminology down, because that's one of the things you got to learn 100%. So I'm going to do it. Got to do it. See you tomorrow.